Welcome to Random Conflux, the must see video thingy of
No.
I need help.
I don't think that works either.
No? I need help. What is this?
This is topic-y random thingy-bobbers.
Yeah, we'll go with that. Yeah, this is Random Conflux. I'm Goten. He's Uncle Pickle. And this is Random Conflux.
Nah, jokes aside. Today's topic is we've done multiple topics on this, but it's always interesting to show like our different views. Our own morals when it comes to emulation.
Yeah, because we've done emulation in a whole.
Yeah.
And I think we talked a little bit about our emulation. By the way, I'm Zach. He's John.
Yeah.
There is no real kid in the vicinity.
What was that?
Nothing.
Just us.
Everything was more than
as per usual.
trembling.
That is home doing whatever he does.
Spirit, are you ready for your first test?
Just give
Hi,
me
Matt.
the juice pops and make it a double.
But by the way,
Down
yeah,
every creepy
like
trolley that moves.
No.
we talked about it
Basics.
a little bit.
In my day.
It was also one of our earlier topics, so if you want to go watch that, please
And class.
go.
And we talked about why we think emulators are a good thing. I believe one of the topics was we talked about how emulators, like the right and wrong way to use emulators,
Yeah.
what emulators are for, the background of emulators, I believe we talked about.
We might have, yeah.
And we do so many topic videos that I lose track. And that's not very hard for me to do. But because you do them all and they kind of get jumbled up somewhere. Not again. But with that being said, I'm having a little stutter problem here. With that being said,
I'm John. He's not kidding.
no, intros are done. I don't think we talked lengthily about our own morals with emulation. But like I was saying, we did talk about like
We talked a little bit about
maybe the history of emulation. We talked about like the rights and wrongs of emulation. We talked about how emulation in some parts is an archivist thing.
Yeah.
That in a way it's necessary to preserve technology.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be like game emulation. It could be any sort of technological emulation.
Yeah. Because, like, for instance, one thing I like doing is emulating old computers and trying to get stuff running off those.
Yeah, and the whole purpose of an emulator, and don't get that mixed up with a simulator, but an emulator is to preserve technology.
Yeah.
In a whole. And as long as you're not making a profit off of an emulator, technically you're not breaking any laws.
Yes.
Because you're not selling something that isn't your own to sell.
And feel free to chime in the comments. We'd love to hear your opinions on any of the stuff we're talking about here.
But that's just basic.
Yeah.
Already, like, you can look that shit up and figure out if I'm right or wrong, but that's just basic knowledge on what an emulator is.
Yeah.
A game emulator or like a computer emulator or any sort of emulator. It could be something along the lines of like an emulation of a generator.
Wow. capital in this place.
People are probably going to be like, well, Zach, what the heck is that? And those that aren't thinking that, then excuse me, while I go into something along those lines.
So you must be the exterminator.
An emulator of a generator is, well, basically a way to work a generator, like electrical generator.
You're talking like a simulation to teach you how to use it.
No, an emulator.
Okay.
Simulation, I said right off the bat, please do not get the two mixed up.
Okay.
An emulator is anything that emulates what its purpose is, or to preserve technology. There is ways of,
Thank you. Now bring
and I'm just using a generator for an example. A generator is a device that can be run on a different source. It's a device to create power by using other means. Sort of like a water generator, a propane generator, a gas generator, so on and so forth. A generator or an emulator of a generator could be a computerized version of what you would put a gas generator to be. It's a device that does what a generator would normally do, but it emulates that device in a technological scale.
Never heard of that.
Okay, I'm going to explain something off mic real quick, and I'll be right back.
So basically, you're saying like using like a computer or other, or like a something similar to power other devices rather than have like a full-on gas generator, because a computer could run something else for a short period of time.
Yeah. The purpose of a generator is to give power to an object. Basically, if you have a beefy enough computer, you can use your computer like a generator. Or the CPU as like a generator. So in
If
a way that...
If it's got its own battery source. Like if the power goes up.
Yes, yeah. But there's a program to allow your computer to do that.
Yeah.
Another really good way of an explanation of that is those phone bricks to help like charge your phone from anywhere in the world and not need an electronic device to do so.
Those aren't really emulation, though. It's just a battery pack that you plug a USB into.
They more or less do the same thing a generator would do. Yeah. So that's where I'm wanting to kind of get people to understand the difference of emulation and that it is a way to preserve technology.
Gotcha.
Because an emulation is just a type of software that allows someone to be able to control or have access to some sort of technological advantage.
Like some sort of like a system or program that's not readily available anymore or something like that.
Or is used for a intended purpose.
Yeah.
That's what an emulator is. It emulates something that was already made just for a more convenient purpose.
Exactly.
You guys can't see this, but Jay's playing with his balls and made a smiley face.
I have spicy, hot, crunchy, delicious Cheeto balls. And I'm playing with them on the plate.
Yes. A very round and bally plate there. What did this channel come into?
Jokes aside,
But there's also like TV emulation.
oh yeah.
You could kind of say streaming networks are an emulator or an archive for lost movies, or a way for people to kind of have like a theater experience in a home.
Mm.
And like, let's go with Netflix or channels on YouTube that are indeed archives for old TV shows or movies.
It's not really emulation; it's more archival, but it's a way to archive like older things.
Technically,
it's along the
you
same
can
lines.
even say that YouTube itself could be an emulation because it hosts an archive. It's a way to, it's a form of technology to allow you to produce your own videos, your own ideas, but yet you can also watch regular movies on the same platform. So wouldn't that necessarily count as an emulator?
If you count it as emulating an old VHS player or something like that, but even still, I wouldn't. But I can see your view.
I would see it as an emulator because, one, you can go and watch Power Rangers Official right here on YouTube. Not sponsored, by the way. But they have categories and categories of old Power Ranger archive.
That's archiving, though. I wouldn't really see that's like...
But is that not the purpose of an emulator?
It's the purpose.
An emulator to play something that has been archived.
But the purpose of the emulator is to replicate the old software, usually.
Yeah, to make something more convenient in a way, and to replace something that...
I would say, like, it's less an emulator exactly, but it serves a similar purpose. So you can see, I can see your vein there.
Okay, so I really don't have to go into too much explanation. You
Yeah.
But Netflix or streaming
Did I forget to give you the wrong keys?
networks like Hulu, Netflix,
All that stuff.
all that stuff, Crunchyroll, they have limited space.
Mm-hmm.
So you wouldn't necessarily call them archives.
Mm-hmm.
Where YouTube, all that's more or less just either on your own computer or out in the cloud.
Mm-hmm.
And it's got things from way back when.
Mm-hmm.
And there's people trying to keep old videos alive. So, technically, you wouldn't have an emulator without some sort of archive.
Yeah.
Or some way of programming that emulator to function a certain way.
Because you have to program the emulator to play the
You have
games.
to have cores, you have to have, like, all that other stuff. Which makes it a wide scale product. An emulator isn't just about games. An emulator is anything that emulates another object. But just to clarify, we are wanting to talk about like gaming emulators and our morals for that. But I just wanted to explain there's other means of emulation. like I said, a battery pack in your pocket is an emulation of a gas-powered generator. Except all you have to do to make it functional is put it in a wall socket for a certain amount of time, and it's good for a long time until you need it. So, in a way, that also basically counts as an emulation. And YouTube is also very similar. It's an emulation of production. You can't really produce something unless you either have a website to do it, or you pay a bunch of money to a film studio, or you do it for free right here on YouTube. And that would literally make YouTube an emulator for video content.
I'd say it's more archival than like your emulation, but I see your point with it.
Well, I'm talking about YouTube as like a source.
Oh,
Like YouTube Studios. That as a free source to emulate actually going to
a studio.
a studio and like being able to do this in a studio environment.
Yeah.
Rather than having to pay for that space. Because we can just make our own homes into a studio and do it that way.
Yep.
Another thing is more people can get their thoughts out. More people can be able to be their own structure. And then that kind of pulls into the content about video games and the morals behind emulators for said video games. And I just wanted to get the big stuff out of the way before we even got to that yet. Because I want people to see emulators in a larger scale.
As like a means for preservation and archival. Things like that.
Or just having a function.
Yeah.
And the purpose of an emulator. And what an emulator is for.
Yeah.
And I was just giving examples of what people may not realize as emulators.
Gotcha.
The YouTube Studio is technically an emulator of an actual studio. It's an emulation of something that came before.
Interesting way of looking at it.
Now, archival, on the other hand, is, and I've said this before, Power Rangers official. Not sponsored by the channel or anything of that nature. But that is one good example of an archive.
Mm-hmm.
Because they archive old Power Ranger videos. But you can only view them on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Or, let's say you have a Roku TV. Power Rangers official, I'm not 100% sure I want to get a hold of the guy myself and find out. But there are some rumors that Power Ranger official also kind of helped get a network on Roku TVs.
I know there's like a Power Rangers network on her.
Yeah. And it's pretty much the same thing that Power Rangers official puts on his stuff. But the whole point of his channel is just to, hold that old footage just for a sake of nostalgia, so that that part of our lives or that object isn't gone forever.
Yeah.
It's like a digital museum for Power Rangers.
Yeah.
But the content creator doesn't make any money off of his own channel because he's using a product that's not necessarily his own. He's using something that was already pre-made and owned by another company. But he can get permission to upload those videos. And the way that his channel works is said that he has permission to upload those videos without being able to make money off those videos. Which is the same for every type of archive there is known. If you're having to pay an archive to get a game, then technically that archive is illegal. It's not a paid thing. And if they want to do things by the book, they would, and if there was a legitimate way to pay for that object, they are supposed to reroute you to a source to get that officially.
Which they should do anyway, out of courtesy.
Yeah. And emulators for video games like RetroArch, Dolphin, those types of programs, they're more or less supposed to give you a way to upload your own copy of the game to put in your own archive.
Yeah, like for instance, we do use PCSX2, which is our PS2 emulator, to play a lot of our games on the channel. I own, I'd say 95% of the games that I've played on there. The other 5% were like just temporary reference for topic videos.
You bought a lot of...
I own a lot of PS2 games. I have a pretty big PS2 library.
But
I have a decent GameCube library too.
and this is where we go into morals.
Yeah.
I think, in my own moral opinion, that an archive and emulators are morally necessary.
All for preservation and stuff like that,
For
right?
preservation. And I think that it is okay if you own the game in question, but you may not have like a working version of it. Maybe the disc or the cartridge is in bad shape, or the console to play it on no longer works, like my PS3 blew the power unit. That sucks.
And unfortunately, wrestling games don't like emulators. We found that
And
out.
wrestling games don't like emulators, so... but I pretty much own every wrestling game from WCW versus NWO Revenge to WrestleMania 2000 to a bunch of the old SmackDown games, SmackDown versus Raw games, clear up to 2K.
If you want to see us play some of these old games, comment below. He does own them. He's not.
It's just I do not have the ability to play those games because I no longer have a console that can run it. My console,
Right.
it put a foot in the grave. Rest in peace, PlayStation 3. But in a sense, I would, if I could find a emulator that can run a wrestling game, especially, let's do an example, WWE SmackDown vs. Raw 2011. If I could get my PlayStation 3 to run it, or like an Xbox to run it, I would be happy to play it on the original console. But if I can get an emulator to run it, and I can't find a way to refix the console, let's say 2K14, WWE 2K14, I find an emulator that is okay to play, I would have no problems playing the game because I own the game. But let's say I want to play but instead of thinking too hard and making my brain smoke, I just went and play a game that if I look where my games are and I don't see that game, I'm not gonna use an emulator to play the game.
I also think it depends on how old the game is too. Like PS3, I do agree you should own the game before you try to emulate it. If your computer can run PS3 or 360, because you need to beat the computer for those. Your computer runs them okay. My computer had a fit.
Yeah. I think a game should be over a certain amount of years before it can even be put into.
Yeah, and even then, it depends on the game. Like if a game's readily available on a current system, I would say support the developer and buy it on a current system.
But I would say try to get the game legitimately first.
Yeah.
Like get a actual physical copy of the game.
Yeah.
And if you're unable to play it on its original hard drive or original unit, then, go ahead and use the emulator.
Yeah.
And look around on the emulator site. 9 times out of 10, they'll probably help you find a way to archive your own game software.
Oh yeah, and there's devices and stuff for that. Like I think RetroArch lets you rip PlayStation 1 games.
They sell the components.
I could ask you the same.
Actually, the disc for PS1 you can just put in your computer.
Well, you must know I'm Taryn. Let me guess.
PS2 is a little bit harder, but not by much.
Who think they can still clean up the city?
I thought the same way, but
I mean,
because of how
So take your
the
little
CD
toys and go
works,
And I've got news for you.
it'll
You're
rip,
really hot
but
and angry.
there's nothing to
You want to help? Here's a big girl's way.
You have to have the right kind of software.
there's nothing to run that code.
You have to have the right kind of software for it. Speaking of software, something interesting, I don't know if you knew this or not. The PS2 emulator, like not all emulators will do this, but the PS2 emulator, if you don't want to go through the trouble of downloading your games, it'll read the disc if you have a disc player, and you can actually play your discs off the computer.
Oh, like for
PCSX2? Yeah, it'll read your discs.
oh, cool.
So if you want to just use your computer as a replacement for PS2, you can. You don't even need to download. You need to download or rip your games.
Well, there's also companies out there that sell computer components
Oh yeah.
for like to run PS3 or to read like PS3 discs.
Oh yeah. There's
Or PS2 discs or like Xbox discs or something along those lines.
and there's also stuff where you can hook a cartridge up to your computer and rip your cartridge yourself too.
Yeah, and I know that there's plenty of YouTubers out there that have probably spent a bunch of money on getting software for the computer so they can play those games legitimately as well and not get in trouble.
Yep, and we're not sponsored by him or anything, but if you want like a legit way to like learn how to copy your PS2 and PS1 games, Arcades Games, I think is the name of his channel. He does a lot of like setup videos for RetroArch and things like that, and he actually shows how to rip your own discs. And your own BIOS files. If you don't want to go through the legally gray area of downloading BIOS files off the internet.
Well,
But-
I would say you would kind of need the bio files in order to even run an emulator.
Yeah.
Because you need that software in order to make your computer function.
But you're
like PS3 or a PS2 or an Xbox.
Actually, the PS3 BIOS is the easiest to get because Sony has it on their website. You don't even have to go through like a gray area to download it.
No, you don't even have to go to the gray area to get a component for your computer to slide the discs into.
No, in fact, like I said, if you have the right software, it'll rip off the CD-ROMs. I've done it.
Sometimes it works. I haven't been able to do it with some of my computers.
It depends on the computer and the programs you use.
I tried to get Mega Man Legends to run off of my computer because I ended up misplacing my PlayStation 1.
Yeah.
Like, I went and bought X-Men Legends from a store. And this was
You made Mega Man
while...
Legends?
Yeah, making the Legends. And this is a while back ago.
Let me guess, you just popped into the computer and tried to get it to work.
Not at first. I wanted to play it on my PlayStation 1.
Yeah.
Or my PlayStation 2. And it went bye-bye. The console, not the game. The game was in my hand. Console went bye-bye. And it grew legs and walked away.
You got a lot of your systems get stolen, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I realized I had a computer that had a disk tray. It was a laptop. And I'm like, I wonder. And I went to Sony's website and downloaded a program to play a PS2 game on a PC. And their emulator that they push,
It wasn't that good.
it didn't even work. It's the same emulator that's on the PS3 to play the PS2 games.
It's because it was meant to load onto a PS3, not a PC.
It didn't even work on the PS3.
Yeah. But,
one, it's not automatically on the PS3. You have to download it from the network store. But, for some reason, it never fucking worked.
the PS1 game should run natively on PS2, though.
PS1, again, I had to download.
For PS1 on your PS3? I never had any problems playing PS1 games.
Well, you also had a fatter. I had to sell.
So did I.
Well, I had to download it.
Weird.
I had to download the emulator and I had to download the memory card. It didn't have it automatically on there.
That was automatic.
And then, same with the PS2 emulator and the PS2 memory card.
Yeah,
the PS2 memory card worked, but every time I tried to download and this was directly on the PlayStation 3. every time I tried to download the software for the PlayStation 2, it kept coming up corrupted.
Yeah. No.
And I looked around, found out that they're missing the programming source code.
Yeah. But that said, like I said, PCSX2 will play PS2 games right off the disc. I don't know if DuckStation will, but EPSX or whatever you call that one, red discs. I've done that before. RetroArch lets you rip your own discs.
Well, I was getting to a point that yes, like Sony sells the ability to rip your discs, but it's not worth anything if it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Like if the software to be able to read that disc doesn't fucking work.
Yeah, and it's funny that you can do it with third-party stuff.
Yeah. And it's like sometimes third party is a little bit better than the main source, but you kind of want to get to the main source first because you want to play the physical copy. But in my case, I wasn't able to do that.
Yeah.
And I own Mega Man Legends. I have the disc. It's a black disc. Had it for years. Decided I wanted to play it the moment that I went and bought it. And I bought it at a rental shop.
You played it a lot since then because you've had various PS2s and stuff.
Yeah, when I got my PlayStation 3, it was right after I lost my PlayStation 2. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to call Renzer and I'm going to be like, hey, I'm kind of in need for a PlayStation 3. Can you bring me one? And so that's kind of what happened. And I didn't have a game to play with a PlayStation 3 game to play with it. But I did have the PlayStation 1 game. I had many PlayStation 1 games. And I had a bunch of PlayStation 2 games. So I'm there hooking up my PS3 to the internet and I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to try to download such and such files because that's what my PlayStation is telling me I need in order to play these games. I thought it was just push it in, play. Because that's what it was with the PS2. You could play the PS1 and PS2 games on a PS2 without having to do all that hassle. Finding out on the PlayStation 3 I bought that it wasn't the same. I had to go into PlayStation Network and buy the...
It also depends on the system and the game. Like PS2, it depended on what PS3 you had, whether or not it was even compatible. PS1 games you could do no matter what system.
Well, for the original PS3 that came out, it was standard.
Yeah.
But if you got the Slim or a third-party console, it was not.
Yeah, and I couldn't get PS.
And to get it standard, you probably had like a first edition, which anything sold later, it was never actually programmed into the software already. And it wasn't that hard to download. You just went to PlayStation Network and type in PS2 or PS1 emulation software and it was right there. And you could just download it. And then that was my ability to play my Mega Man Legends that I just got that day on a PS3.
Okay.
That was my way of doing it. And then I tried to play Grand Theft Auto Liberty City Stories. And that
didn't work because the PS2 emulator didn't work.
Because I downloaded the PS2 emulator, it's just that it didn't work. And when I went into the save component of the game, and it showed that the emulator had corrupted file. And it's just because there was a mix-up in the code for it. And there was a bunch of people that have had that problem. Sometimes it was due to low internet download speed, a bunch of other stuff was put into place. But yeah, I believe if you want to play a game, then try to own the game itself first. And try an option to play the physical copy, because there are ways out there to do that. But
You say that, but we usually play the digital copy when we play Tenkaichi. That said, I do own the game physically.
You own the game. You also gave me a copy of the game.
Yeah.
Meaning that we both own the game physically. And it's one of those things where I don't. It's over 10 years old.
Yeah.
So I don't really feel that bad about playing on.
Yeah.
Because, one, we both own that copy.
Yeah.
We both
Yes, I'm sure he's very
have a computer.
Yeah.
We both had a PlayStation 3.
Yeah. I still have a PS3. That said, Zach will be getting a new PS3 eventually.
But this is more convenient.
Yeah.
Having a computer to run a bunch of different games on
Yeah.
back and forth instead of having to plug in and unplug different consoles. And this is one of the reasons why I think, in a way, this is a little bit better. But that's more for like gaming channels.
Yeah.
Any other reason, I think you should go with the hardware first. But it's one of those reasons why I'm okay with playing it on an emulator on the PC. One, for more convenience.
And two, it's like it's a backup library.
I know what you own,
Yeah.
and I also own the same thing, so it's like, why have you lug around your PlayStation 3? Or your Xbox, or PlayStation 2, or PlayStation 1, back and forth, or have a chance of damaging your game systems by, having it all packed in your car.
Yeah, because if we wanted to, we could. I could play from NES clear up to modern if we wanted to play on original hardware.
Yeah,
A lot of
but
different systems.
it's like, do we really need all that when we have everything compact
On a PC, yeah.
on a PC?
And morally, I don't see any problem with that. It's just a convenience thing. I'm sure you agree there.
Me, if it's over like 10 years old, if the lifetime of that console is dead and they're no longer making any more new games for it, they're no longer supporting that system, then I see it as morally okay.
Okay. Makes sense.
But if that console is still being considered a console that they're keeping alive by still selling games for it, they keep updating the software for it, they're still pushing that console.
Yeah.
100%, I prefer to get the original over the emulation.
Now, there are some exceptions. Like, I did download the 3DS emulator, technically, while the 3DS was being supported. But it wasn't...
How dare you?
It wasn't to pirate. I owned the games I was playing. I just wanted a bigger screen. My eyes aren't what they used to be.
Well,
I'm sure you can relate to that.
I don't see anything wrong with it.
Yeah.
And
And
I would say because, one, mobile games have a shitty ass screen. Look at the Game Boy Color.
Yeah.
Tiny screen.
Yeah.
You have the Game Boy Pocket, worse screen.
Finish exterminating those bugs.
And they expect you to be able to play and be able to see without a magnifying glass. And speaking of magnifying glass, they actually sold them. But,
Yeah. I actually do like the fact that Nintendo offers a lot of their Game Boy games on Switch now.
yeah,
That's
which
nice.
makes it
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
But
Not everything, but they offer a
yeah,
lot.
they don't play nice with emulators. But I also see the point of an emulator. I see the point of archival games. I would say please use the original source rather than going to an archive. But if you do use an archive and you like the games that they have, do support them.
If there's a way to support the game. Like,
If there's a way to support them just for you playing the games, go ahead and do that.
yeah.
But if there's a way to get the game legitimately, do that as well.
That's actually one reason why I like GOG, which is it's kind of like Steam that you can buy games off there.
Yeah.
One of their goals is to get like older PC games that have been like abandoned and like are no longer available again to purchase.
You mean like Skies of Arcadia?
That's not on PC now, is it? Oh, I didn't know GOG got that. I know it was on GameCube and Dreamcast.
Miniature Nerd is actually playing it on his channel,
For GOG?
and I believe it's through
Okay.
GOG.
Yeah, we'll double check that.
Because he's not a big, I wouldn't say he's not a big fan of like emulators, but he's the kind of person that prefers to own,
Yeah.
like how you are and how I am, to own the game to play it.
Yeah.
But I noticed he'll go on like some emulation sites to play like older games that maybe people have forgotten
And try it out.
to get them to come back into circulation.
Now, something interesting. Some PC games, if you buy now, actually have the old ROM files. Like, for instance, Glover. You know, that was re-released on GOG and Steam. Awesome game, by the way. Play it. You'll love it or hate it.
You mean the game where
You're a glove and you
Glove.
bounce around with a ball. Yeah, it's awesome. Anyways, it was
he's very excited
No.
about Glover.
no, I bought it on GOG, right?
Yeah.
If you go into the archive files for that game, it actually has the N64 ROM and the PlayStation ROM, so you can play that in an emulator if you wish, along with the PC port.
Cool.
Yeah, there's a few games like that. So if you want to emulate, that's a legal way to do it, and you have all three versions.
Yeah, and you're paying for one.
Yeah, $10 on GOG. It's worth it.
Hey, GOG, you may want to sponsor us. We're making your job very easy.
They also recently brought the first Resident Evil game. They made a modern PC port of it, so you don't have to download the old PC port from shady websites.
Well, I may be mistaken about this, and my source could be wrong, but the remake also had the ability to do the same thing.
The first remake? Actually, no, it didn't have. You couldn't play the original game on that one. I have it on PC. It was a faithful adaptation, but it was like
Because I remember watching Miniature Nerd And once he did a playthrough of it, or like before he went and played the game, I think he did a demo and he did like a side-by-side comparison of the original and
it's
the new one.
it's because the original and the new one are very close as far as like how they look, except better graphics, obviously. And he probably did a side by side to show the two of them together, because the new one does change stuff, but it's very, very similar as far as like areas and stuff go. You know what I mean?
No, I mean like I remember him because the only way he'll play something is if he owns it.
Yeah.
That's one thing I respect about any gaming channel on YouTube.
Yeah, and you can buy the original. Like they had the original PC.
I was wondering if what he did was he went and bought the original PC port.
Yeah.
And then ended up buying the new one at the same time.
Yeah.
But I also realized like the first one, the first PC port, the original one, it wasn't that good of a port. But,
sorry, that was my work alarm. It's time for me to go to work. Not kidding.
But I could have swore he ended up getting it from the same source. But I could be wrong. But I was also told that like the game doesn't like to play with Windows 10.
It's not impossible. It was very hard to get working. That's why GOG made a modern port of it. Because in order to get it running on Windows 10/11, you had to put a lot of mods in it. It was harder to get running than The Sims 2 was, and I had a heck of a time getting The Sims 2 to run.
Huh.
For those of you that are watching my Sims 2 Let's Play, appreciate it. It was hard. That's not me exaggerating it. I like to get the textures and everything.
My brother's cheating.
I didn't cheat. The thing was a pain in the butt to get running.
But yeah, like I think if you're playing a game as like a YouTuber or a Let's Player, I think emulators are really good as a tool to be able to play a bunch of games and show people more games that are available.
Yeah.
Without breaking the bank.
Or if you want to try a game that's no longer available for the first time, it's a new problem.
Yeah, like Skies of Arcadia. Let's be serious. If, let's say, your playthrough of Sims 2 gets someone nostalgic to replay the Sims 2, but they no longer have a PS2 or what's a PS1?
I'm playing it on PC. It's
or like, or they can't get it to function on their PC legitimately. You know, I don't see anything wrong about using an emulator to play the game. Or like a virtual machine to give it a better Windows to function on. So on and so forth. But, yeah. To me, it's okay to use an emulator and to use an archive, but respectfully. And your opinion?
No, I agree. Or if a game's insanely priced, like just me looking up right now, this is just because like the price of some older video games have rocketed. Skies of Arcadia is between $100 and like $150 right now on eBay.
Okay.
And in that case, emulate away.
Emulate away.
I was just curious. I was like wondering how much it was.
Nah, like
Exterminating those bugs.
to me, it's a tool.
Yeah.
It's a work tool for, in my point of view.
Yeah. I've actually never played that, but I've heard good things about it.
I've seen Let's Play of it from like Miniature Nerd and a few other people I've watched play it. But
It's a beautiful looking game for all of
oh
us.
yeah, it's in the same background as Blue Dragon.
Also a very beautiful game.
Oh, very beautiful.
Artwork by Akira Toriyama.
Yes.
God bless his soul.
Rest in peace.
Yes.
Dragon Ball before Dragon Ball.
No, Blue Dragon was released after. It was Xbox 360.
The original manga?
Yeah. It was released along with the game.
I thought the manga was released way before the game was. Oh. Hey, I learned something new, folks.
Releases the spray. Hold it down.
So I knew he worked on Blue Dragon, but I thought that the manga was released way before the game was.
No. The
Because,
manga was based off the game.
because I know for a fact, Man in Abyss, the video game for that, released a lot later than the actual manga that it comes from.
Oh, that one, yeah. But Blue Dragon was released after the game. The game did so popular it got an anime and a manga.
Because the anime for Man in Abyss, it got, like, it was basically in limbo for a long time during the production of the manga.
Yeah. That was your phone.
Shut up, phone.
Hope to stop me now anyway.
But, like, once it got the green light, and I happened to see the video, like, meeting the Abyss is not for the ease of heart. Like, if you get queasy really quick, not the best video to watch. Gameplay wise, really cool game. But anime or manga, it's really cool, but like it's for a very targeted demographic.
Yeah.
But I can't find a way to play that game legit. I've been wanting to try the game for a while now, and I can't find any place that will sell the game. There's a PC port, there's a PlayStation port, and I believe there's an Xbox. And I haven't found like a legitimate store that I can go to physically to find the game.
Crash into the purple bugs to kill them.
And I haven't checked Xbox Store. No, I have checked Xbox Store. It is not there. So
They have the Switch version for $10. PS4 for 30. I was just looking online to see how much it was. Might be on
well,
Xbox.
probably got
It probably got re-released.
it probably got watered down a bit, because if you watch the show is very graphic, very graphic. But I actually like the show.
It's not coming to Xbox. Okay.
That's probably why I couldn't find it on Xbox. And I don't have a Switch, folks.
It is on Steam though.
It's on Steam.
$60.
Ooh. Not bad. I don't have $60. I'll emulate it.
To buy the current version, you need a Switch emulator, which is a whole other gray area. I think that's too current to emulate.
Well, a Switch emulator is already on the Switch.
No, I mean like a PC Switch.
Why not just get a ROM of it on the PC and just get it for free? Archives.
Now, joke aside, I do agree you shouldn't do that with newer games. You should legitimately buy it for the available.
Yeah.
Which, like I said, I
think if a game is over 10 years in age,
yep.
or if the console is no longer being supported,
Yep.
then the
That's
game
okay.
should be free.
But in this case, the game is available, so I would buy it.
She's wicked quick.
Yeah.
Try cutting her off when she turns.
Yep. Anything you want to add?
I think that's it. I think we've rambled all on now.
Yeah, I think so. And with that being said, I'm Gilton. He's Uncle Pickle. This is Random Conflux.
What are you talking about? There's no here. I use Zorbon.
Oh no, Sarbon. That is Sarbon. You're blue.
Blue, why would you have it up?
I don't know. See you guys. Like, subscribe. All happy fun crap. See you guys.
I'm hitting all the wrong buttons.